Elizabeth. Bear, the diesel engine, wasn't feeling well. The workmen tried to make him better, but it wasn't any use. Sir Topham Hatt came to inspect him. "Donald will take you to the works," he said. Bear felt very miserable. Sir Topham Hatt then spoke to Thomas. "I would like you to take care of Bear's freight train for today, and after that, I'll have Derek take care of his work." "Yes, sir. Right away, sir," Thomas said. "That's a good engine," said Sir Topham Hatt. Thomas's job was to deliver Bear's freight train to Tidmouth Harbor. The load was supposed to go onto a barge, and the barge was set to leave at noon. Thomas was trying his best to make up for lost time. But as Thomas approached an old shed, something broke with a shrieking crack. His side rods broke. Thomas couldn't go anywhere until he got them fixed. His driver and fireman then saw an old shed. "If there's a telephone in there," said the driver, "I'll call for help." So he and the driver went inside the shed. "Do your best to be careful," Thomas said. "It looks a bit spooky in there." As the driver and fireman went in, a voice could be heard. "Do you mind? I'm trying to sleep." Thomas hoped there wasn't a ghost in there. The fireman then came out. "Tell me it's not a ghost," Thomas said. "It's not a ghost," laughed his fireman. "It's a surprise." And he took some of Thomas's coal and went back inside the old shed. He then came back out. "What kind of a surprise is it?" Thomas asked. "Thomas," said his fireman, "meet Elizabeth." And out of the shed came a dirty, grimy steam truck. It then came over to Thomas. "Oh, so you're the little puffer that's broken down," Elizabeth said. Thomas felt offended. "And you're just an old steam truck," said Thomas crossly. "That's vintage steam truck," said Elizabeth firmly. "And I don't have any time to get your new coupling rods." Thomas wished steam angrily. His fireman then went inside Elizabeth, and his driver drove Elizabeth to get Thomas's coupling rods. But as they were making it along their way to the fitter's yard, Elizabeth was having trouble as she went up the hill. "You're losing steam," said Thomas's driver. "Just catching my breath, that's all," Elizabeth said. As soon as Elizabeth got Thomas's coupling rods, she went back to her shed. As soon as Elizabeth returned with Thomas's coupling rods, she was satisfied. And next time, try not to be so careless, she scolded. That made Thomas even more crosser. She thought that Elizabeth was the rudest truck she'd ever met before. But he was pleased to have his new coupling rods, and he set it off to Tidmouth Harbor. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting anxiously for him. "What took you so long?" he said. "My coupling rods broke, and my driver and fireman went to go get them, and it was all because of..." But before he could say anything else, Elizabeth closed up. "Ah, Topham," Elizabeth said, "have you learned to drive properly yet?" Thomas then laughed quietly to himself. "She's in for trouble," he thought to himself. But he was unfortunately wrong. "Elizabeth, my first truck. I thought you had been lost." "I've been stuck in that old shed on that loop line for years," Elizabeth said. Thomas then felt abashed. "Since you have been found," said Sir Topham Hatt to Elizabeth, "you shall be restored to her original beauty." "Thank you, sir," Elizabeth said. A few days later, Bear came back from the works. And Elizabeth also had a new coat. Thomas introduced Bear to Elizabeth. Sir Topham Hatt was pleased that Bear was back, and was pleased that Elizabeth had a new coat. "You're the finest truck on the whole railway," he said to her. "I know," Elizabeth said. And Thomas had to agree.